What's going on, guys? My name is Dre and welcome back to Gojeda Tech. Today I've managed to get my hands on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. Now, truth be told, I've had this guy here for about a week or so at the time of recording this, and I just wanted to get out here and do a quick impressions video because this thing has made quite an impression on me. Before we go too far, this is going to be a little bit different to some of the previous videos I've done in the past, where if you've watched me before, you'd be pretty used to the fact that I script most of my videos. This one here is going to be completely unscripted. I've just got some notes that I've taken of this device as I've been using it for the past week or so that I've had it. But I did want to get a video out to you guys while I work on a full review of the Flip 2 in that meantime. Alright, now going on from that, I'm going to structure this video kind of like a Nick Shabazz video. So if you don't know who he is, he's a massive guy in the EDC world and like the pocket knife sort of things. And I really like the way that he does it, focusing on the good, the bad, the not so good, and the ugly. I'm just going to go a very simplified version of that since it is just an impressions video that I'm doing today. I'm just going to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And seeing as I don't want this video to be too long, we're just going to crack straight into it. Now, going on with the good, there is really a lot to love about this device. In the short time that I've had to play with it, I've very quickly started to adore the Flip 2. Now, I didn't have the original Flip 1 of Retroid. I actually got into the retro handheld scene just after that one came out, and it wasn't really like on my radar. That's why I ended up with the RG35XX. So when the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 was announced, I was very excited to actually get hands-on with a nice clamshell design handheld. Now, going on with things that I do like, going on from the RP5 that I have over here, a lot of the stuff carries over. So the D-pad is fantastic. It's the same as it has been on the RP5, on the RP Mini, and I think the upcoming RP Classic 2. Or I say upcoming, but it should have just released. The face buttons are pretty fantastic. They feel exactly the same as the RP5. Now, what has been improved from the RP5 that I actually significantly enjoy is the joysticks. I don't know if the travel has actually been changed that much, but the improved stick design itself of the caps is a significant improvement. They are actually a joy to use. Now, something that I wasn't too sure about when I saw the teasers for the Flip was going to be the ergonomics. If you look at it, it kind of looks like an awkward thing to hold and to use, but in practice, it's actually significantly more ergonomic and more comfortable than I ever thought it was going to be. In the short time that I've been playing with it, everything from dual stick shooters to classic D-pad and face buttons or single stick has all been pretty comfortable. Mind you, none of it is perfect. It is a little bit awkward to hold in hand, but it doesn't have the downsides of the ergonomics of the RP5, where that was just plain unusable for dual stick shooter type games and needed the third-party 3D printed grips from Etsy and things like that to actually be good in that regard. Going on from there, the bumpers feel fantastic as well. They're like nice and clicky. They have a nice grip texture to it too and feel very reminiscent of the RP5 as well. There's nothing too different there. The screen, of course, is one of the biggest selling factors on this guy. It is absolutely gorgeous. It goes from being able to be very dim for those late night in bed sessions next to your partner or whoever so that you're not bothering them, to also, if you can probably see here, it's going to be blown out to very bright, so when you're outside playing it in direct sunlight, it holds up quite well. Now, if you have the RP5, the screen is exactly the same as far as I can tell. All the colors are beautifully saturated, and it is an absolute joy to look at. I want to go on from the screen as well and saying that like the new orientation of having the screen above the controls has been much more ergonomic and more comfortable for me to play on as well, where I actually find myself wanting to pick up the Flip 2 to play with on the couch and things like that. Whereas with the 5, I didn't really want to because I found myself craning my neck a little bit, looking down, and it just wasn't a comfortable experience in my opinion. And obviously, since it is a clamshell device, I've found myself kind of loving this form factor for travel specifically, and being able to like throw it in my pocket for short amounts of time, and like being able to just throw it in my passenger seat in the car or in a backpack and things like that, and not having to worry about the screen or worry about it in any sort of way. In fact, my son has actually dropped it from the lounge onto some tile flooring that we have here in my house, and there has been no visible damage that I can see. Mind you, it wasn't a massive drop, but hey, it is something to mention too that I have noticed in the short time that I've used it. And all in all, I do think the overall experience so far with the Flip has been positive. I've seen a lot of negative stuff online, and it kind of gave me buyer's remorse pretty early on with this, especially since I pre-ordered it, and I think it's generally undeserved because this thing, it really does hold up. But with that being said, it is not a perfect device. There are some things here that I obviously at first just don't really like and could have been done a little bit better if you ask me. First of all, going off that, and like one of the first things you'll notice is actually holding it. The plastic feels kind of toy-ish, like you would find in like a kid's toy or something like that. It's not cheap feeling, but it's not as premium as I expected because of my experience with the RP5. Carrying on from there, the triggers themselves ergonomically are a mess. I don't know if it really comes across on camera here, but you can see they're very straight and they kind of dig into the side of your fingers there, and like using them just doesn't really feel all that good. They're perfectly serviceable and all, and for them to be comfortable you have to kind of use your fingertips, and like you can make adjustments to make them better. I just kind of wish that they were a bit more curved and like formed to your finger a little bit better. As well as that, the travel is kind of short and they're kind of light to the touch as well. I wish they were a little bit heavier and had a little bit more travel just to make it feel a little bit more premium. Another little thing that has bothered me in use is that there's no actual dedicated back button for Android here. We do have the home button, which does function as the back button with a single press, and home as a long press there. As you can see, it takes me back to my standard Android launcher, but the lack of like a dedicated back button has annoyed me quite a bit. Another thing that is kind of minor but has bothered me quite a bit in using this since I've swapped out SD cards a lot is the micro SD card slot itself. The door here is pretty awful if you ask me. It hinges from the wrong spot if you ask me, where it makes it awkward to move the door out of the way to get the micro SD card in. And also you have to push it in super far to engage that click to actually make it stay in the device. And for me with short nails, it was just kind of impossible. So to get it in, I had to use like tweezers to push it in, get it that far enough. But something about putting sharp metal objects near sensitive electronics didn't feel good. Now, mind you, this isn't going to be an issue since hopefully you're only going to be putting an SD card into this once. But since this is a Snapdragon Retroid, similar to the RP5, it does support Linux. So if you have a Linux card, you're going to be changing out your SD card a lot. That's going to get annoying very, very quickly. Going on from the plastic as well is that in my short time, I've noticed that the purple plastic specifically has gotten a little bit fingerprinty. I don't know if that comes across in camera. I'm a pretty clean dude. I wash my hands before I use it and I'm not that sweaty. Mind you, we're going into winter here in Australia, so the temperature has been pretty nice. I'm still finding like little bits of fingerprints popping up on the shell and stuff around like that. It's not a huge deal. In fact, it's hidden quite well. I think that if you have the black version, it's going to show up significantly more. With that being said though, I think if you got the gray or the transparent, it would hide it pretty well as well, since it's not super easy to spot here, but it is something to keep in mind. And rounding out the quick things I want to talk about is lastly the ugly. And with this one, it's pretty obvious. The design is whack, if you ask me. I have no idea what they were trying to go for with this weird circle design with this 90-degree angle chopped out of it. I think it's meant to be an ode to the fact that this opens up, but it opens up significantly more than 90 degrees. So I have no idea what that is meant to be. Also to mention, the crosshair lines that are in it too just makes kind of no sense at all. As well as these random lines on the back. Like, I understand that there was some design language that went into it, but then when you open it up, it's pretty bare too. So like, I don't get what the design team was doing here when they thought, oh yeah, let's put all this detail in the outside of it and then just leave this really ugly, plain, bare plastic on the inside that just kind of looks awkward. And another thing to go along with it being ugly is just like, it looks awkward, man. Something about the proportions here is just not satisfying to the eye, and it looks like it would be an absolute nightmare to hold. Like I said before, it's not, but it definitely looks like it. Another thing that's kind of ugly with these Retroid devices at the moment is the company themselves. I don't know how versed you guys are in the news with Retroid, but they've had some shady business going on recently, especially around the Retroid Pocket Classic, where they outright lied about the screen that device was using, where now they're sending replacements, since the screen that was being used was actually a larger than advertised screen and it was just being covered up by the bezel, and that was causing lots of issues with shaders and things like that in the community. And there was a lot of outrage, and they were saying that they would be able to fix it and then they weren't able to fix it, and it was like this whole hubbub. And then not only that, when the Flip 2 was announced, they kind of gaslit the community too, because if you guys were paying attention around that time, about a week before it was actually announced, they'd just come out and outright said that there was absolutely no work being done on a Flip. There was no plans for the Flip 2. And then all of a sudden, a week later, they came out with a survey asking for community input as to what they wanted to see in the Flip 2. And then not long after that, we had the announcement of the Flip being come out. So just straight up gaslighting the community isn't really a good look. On top of all of that, Retroid is also pretty infamous for having issues with the initial launches of devices. Like there was another issue with the Retroid Pocket Mini when that came out, where the orange and white colorway was completely botched. Instead of getting a white bezel around the screen, we had this weird off gray. So now there's people with this limited edition grey RP Mini floating around. That also had obviously the screen issues as well. The original Flip had issues with the hinges and having cracking and stuff like that on the opaque color shells. Mind you, I've had no issues with this hinge at all, and it's actually one of the positives of this device. The hinge feels pretty amazing. But all of that is kind of besides the fact, since we're just looking at the device itself, and if it's something that you're conscious about, you'll know about it. And I will probably go over this in the full review of the Retroid Pocket Flip. All in all, I know this is a bit of a quick video. I just wanted to say I really like this thing and I wanted to get something out for you guys, since I've been really focused on testing this in recent times and I haven't really worked on any other video because of that. So keep your eye out for the future for the full review of the Retroid Pocket Flip. I've got some stuff cooking there as well for the Trim UI brick, since that thing is an amazing device and the community is working super hard to bring out more custom firmware for that. So I got a video coming on that, and Next UI specifically, since that's the one that I've been using. I don't know how much overlap there is there too, but I've just ordered myself a 3D printer. So I might do a video of unboxing that and getting some impressions of that experience out as well. And if you've made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. I know this is a little bit out of the ordinary for me, but make sure you like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you all on the next one.